Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Kindly tell us in the chat box where you're joining us from and how do you feel today, being that whatever you are, if the weather is chilly, if the weather is calm, please tell us something about that in the chat box and I will give the mic over to Charity.
Thank you, Synthia. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charity Achesa, part of the recruitment team at Teach for Kenya. And once again, thank you so much for taking your time to join this session. The topic of today is coaching and leadership development through Teach for Kenya. And that is the topic that we are going to discuss today. So first things first, I would like to introduce the team that I have with me from the recruitment team at Teach for Kenya. So I will pass the mic to Perpetual, who will call out the next person.
Hello everyone, I hope you're doing good. So I'm Perpetual Karuki, part of the RSM team at Teach for Kenya, and thank you for joining us today. I pass it on to Calvin, sis.
Hello, good morning. My name is Calvin Sodiambo. It's a pleasure being here, and welcome everyone to the meeting. Karibuni sana. I nominate Anthony Washira.
Good afternoon, everyone. So good to connect with once. Yeah, my name is Anthony Washira. I'm the head of recruitment at Teach for Kenya. And I cannot wait to have this amazing session with all of you. I pray that you remain engaged. Listen to what the session is all about. You'll be interacting with coaches who basically support the fellows once they join Teach for Kenya. And so this is going to be such an amazing conversation, and you can ask us many questions as you'd want. So I'm really happy to join you once again, and I want to pass this over to Finny.
I'd like us to exempt Finny and pass it on to Koima.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Josephine Koima, and I am a leadership development coach, Nairobi region. I'm very happy to be here, and I can't wait to hear from all of you and just answer your questions regarding the fellowship. Thank you.
We can go to Bedel.
Yeah, good afternoon, good people. My name is Bedel Cassie, Ogweno, and I'm sorry, I'm setting up video. Be able to see my wonderful face in a few moments to come. But I'm very pleased to be in this space here today with you and co-create this experience and also to try and answer as many questions as we could raise and be answered today. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you all for the introduction. So as you can see, that's the team that we currently have in the recruitment and selection department, and also some of the coaches. Teach for Kenya is a big organization that has different departments. So this is just a representation and the first space that fortunately interacting with as you're applying fellowship experience. So as I mentioned, in case you just joined us, we are going to discuss on leading with change, on coaching and leadership development. And that one you're going to hear it more from our coaches, that is Coach Koima and Coach Bedel. In case this is the first time that you're joining us today, we've been having a series of webinars for the last 2 weeks, every Tuesday and Thursday, except last week on Thursday, because of course it was a holiday and we celebrate each one of us for being a laborer in the country. So this is the last webinar that you're having today on leadership and coaching. So quickly, we are going to I'm going to share briefly with you information on what Teach for Kenya is, just to help you have a vast understanding of what you're signing up for and what you should expect from us. So Teach for Kenya is a non-profit organization that champions for quality education, and we have been in existence for the last 5 years. This is the 6th year that we are in existence. And we are currently located within 3 regions and expanding to the 4th region, which is Wajir. Our current regions of operations are Nairobi, Machakos, and Kisumu. And we are recruiting for another region, which is Wajir. Our vision as Teach for Kenya is that one day, we believe that one day every Kenyan child will receive access to quality education, regardless of their socio-economic background. How we do that is we are building a movement of young individuals or excellent teachers committed to championing collective leadership in ending education inequalities within the community. So we believe that you being here, you want to be part of the movement that you're building for this year and to join the fellowship and run for 2 years. Also, we have a fellows vision, which guides their day-to-day activities, which is building a movement of excellent teachers committed to championing collective leadership in ending education inequality within the communities. For your knowledge, as you're planning to apply or you've already applied for the Teach for Kenya Fellowship, you're going to join us for 2 years, and then after that, you're going to join a movement of the alumni. So what do we do and what guides our day-to-day activities? We have our core values, which guide our day-to-day activities in the office, on ground, and even during the fellowship. The first one is a sense of possibility. What we mean by that is we're working towards magnifying the endless potential that exists among the youth, children, and communities, and we think expansively about solutions, work above and beyond to ensure there's a transformational change within the communities that we are serving. The second one is on integrity. We believe in fostering the high ethical standards as an organization by choosing courage over comfort and choosing what is right over what is fun. Of course, if you join the fellowship experience, it's not just about you being in the classroom, and you'll also get to hear from our coaches what being a fellow actually looks like from their point of view. Another one is on Harambee. We value endeavors to work collectively with stakeholders, government, partners, and community members. We have a couple of partners that we are currently working with. That is Jibu, we have NABO, we have other partners that we engage with on different grounds, either on programs, on how to support the fellows, and even on the academic activities that we do in the schools. The next one is on continuous learning. We embrace new innovative ideas, appreciate feedback, and continuously seek to improve. We value the culture of reflection, research growth, and development based on the various spheres of our work. Next is on diversity and inclusion. Being at Teach for Kenya, we believe that this opportunity is open to anyone, regardless of what you're currently experiencing, your race, your gender, your culture. It's open to all, and it's always a free and fair opportunity. Last one is on learner-centered. Our key focus is on changing the trajectory of all children, regardless of their socio-economic, giving them access to opportunities that will enable them to thrive as young leaders. So that's what guides our day-to-day activities. And what drives us every day is, as I mentioned, our vision is with academic status of the country, with the change of the academic systems, we are working towards achieving this goal at the end of it all. So how we came up with a solution, looking at the problems that we are currently experiencing as a country, is that we came up with something we call a theory of change in Teach for Kenya. And theory of change is divided into two. That is the short-term theory and the long-term theory of change. The current short-term theory of change is whereby we recruit exceptional leaders, we place them in schools as teachers, and they help in solving the challenges that I have mentioned, either directly through teaching the students that are in that school, or they come up with a project that they run to bring up a solution that they have discovered in the school that they have been placed for the 2 years. The long-term theory of change is whereby we have a deeper understanding of the systemic barriers that prevent children from realizing their full potential. And we have an alumni hood whereby you commit to working as an education ambassador throughout the careers by immersing your leadership in the 4 pathways. Our coaches are going to touch a bit on the pathways that we currently have at Teach for Kenya and how they are going to impact how you're applying for your fellowship and how it's going also to impact how you're going to run the fellowship. So with that information, feel free to drop any question that you have on the information that has currently been shared, any information that you'd like us to answer, and we have a team from the Teach for Kenya community that are going to engage with you in the chat box. So at this point, as I mentioned, we are going to learn more about coaching and leadership from Teach for Kenya, and we have 2 of our very own coaches who will share the experience as coaches and what it actually entails. So at this point, I'd like to hand over the mic to Synthia.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And I just want to see your reactions on the chat box. If you can hear me, a thumbs up. Perfect. We are all in unison. Amazing, amazing. So guys, I want you to prepare because the people we're going to bring forth as our panelists today are people that are capable to give you all the necessary information that you need as a fellow, how it actually works at the ground, what normally is the day-to-day activities they do. And I know we're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot. So drum rolls, everyone, from wherever you are. Drum roll. Thank you. So I will invite Bedel to introduce himself. And after Bedel is done, I'll give it over to Koima. Bedel, welcome.
Thank you so much, Madam Synthia, Ouma, for the space. And once more, welcome everybody to this space and time. And I had apologized earlier on because I'm a bit up and down. So you will just allow my manners here. I won't be able to turn my cameras. So thank you so much. So as I've been mentioned earlier, my name is Bedel Cassie Ogweno. It's important I introduce myself fully. And I work in one of the Teach for Kenya's regions called Machakos. So currently, as you might have known, we are in 3 regions, expanding to the 4th one. Kisumu, Nairobi, and Machakos. Then with the grace of God, we are going to Wajir. So I work there with a team of 3 other coaches. And I can't wait for you guys to join us, come and help us do this work so that by the end of it all Kenyan children have access to quality education, irrespective of where they are born, where they school, and who their parents are. Thank you so much.
Amazing, amazing. A round of applause on the chat box. Let's appreciate Bedel for that introduction. And I will give the mic over to Koima. Koima, welcome.
Thank you, Synthia. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Koima, an LTC in Nairobi region. I am actually part of a team of 5. So we are 5 coaches in Nairobi currently. And just as Bedel has said, our major role is to support our fellows in this amazing work that they do. Yeah, so I'm just excited to be able to share my experiences as a coach and, what some of the work that we do, how we are contributing to the mission and vision of Teach for Kenya. Yeah, so I'm just looking forward to hearing from you guys and just, hearing your questions and seeing them in your chat box, even as we continue this work.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Koima, for that. And I will move straightforwardly to our questions today. And my main question will first start to you, Koima, and then over to Bedel. What is a coach? Everybody's asking. We know coaches in football, we know coaches in other departments, but they're wondering, Teach for Kenya, what does Teach for Kenya need a coach for? So would you elaborately tell us who is a leadership development coach at Teach for Kenya?
Okay, thank you once again. So a coach generally is someone who supports another person grow in a specific skill or in a specific area, whether professionally or personally. And so as a leadership development coach, we are ensuring that our fellows not only excel or grow in their teaching skills, but they also grow professionally. They also grow in their personal skills. So we're talking about leadership skills and competencies that surround their role as teachers. We're also talking about some of the things that they're supposed to do with learners. So we're talking about goal setting. We're also coaching and mentoring them in specific areas because we want our fellows to grow holistically, not just for the work that they're doing. We also want them to grow in their personal lives, and this way they will cascade this to the learners. So yeah, generally our major role is to support the fellows on the ground in the work that they do. We support them even in identifying projects and just implementing them in the communities that they have been placed. So we actually partner in this work, yeah. So a fellow, the number one person that a fellow should run to in case of any challenges, in case of any successes, is a coach.
Amazing information there. It has been told to you guys that they are the first contact to a fellow. Over to you, Bedel. Tell us, who is a leadership development coach?
Thank you so much, Madam Synthia. And I think for us to understand the construct of a coach, it's important to, first of all, define who a coach is, distinguish the coaching or the coach and the coaching profession as a different aspect or a different form of an on-job learning or a job in itself. And then also differentiate between the dynamics of the aspects of coaching, whereby we can either have the directive coach or facilitative coach. So I think in my own the description, I think I would define a coach to be an equal partner in an equal partnership between the coach and the coachee. So at any moment in time, as Koima correctly stated, the coach and the coachee are working in tandem. We are all trying to attain the same goal here, the goal of ensuring quality education is achieved. And through that, we will be leaning towards promoting education equity, whereby we address the real issues on the ground. And this should not be confused by what a coach is not. So a coach is not, if I'm allowed, in religion, Jesus Christ, or maybe the other heads of other religions. So they are not coming to solve your problem. You don't pray to a coach so that Coach Bedel can help you do this and that. But then my role would circumvent and would involve a lot of me working closely with you to help you look internally and also see how best can you yourself, with my support, can come up with a solution or an intervention to the challenges, number one, that is affecting the institution, the learners, and sometimes your own self. And I must say that because a coach presents in different forms. In the good books, the Bible, we are told that you will know them from, I don't know in English, but mtawajua kwa vilemba, sio? So the hearts, or rather the vilemba of a coach would then mean a coach would come in as a manager, number one. And in this, the coach is trying to oversee the work and the output that the fellow is putting in the ground. So remember, you are entering a leadership and teaching a leadership program. Number one, you will be teaching full-time, Monday to Fridays, sometimes Saturdays. But then also you are a leader in your own rights. The coach will help you develop to a leader. So we want to see that you are presenting with the competencies, the skills, the mindsets to try and attain that. Secondly, the coach would also appear as a trainer or a consultant. And some of us, Koima included, myself included, have walked this journey before. We have been a fellow at a moment in time. So we might know the ropes, we might guide you through the ropes, and just ensure that your 2-year stay here is fulfilling, albeit challenging. Then the coach would also present as a therapist. And with this, we mean, as Koima has correctly stated, the coach is your first point of contact, your go-to person. Before you call the office, before you call someone in the village where I come from, in Mfangano and Rusinga Island, before I make a phone call there, I would rather call my coach first, because this is someone who lives and works with me on a day-to-day basis. So there are also therapists. They will engage with you in self-inquiry in order to support your mental well-being. They will listen to you. I think that is one thing that we do all the time. And just on a lighter note, sometimes a coach ni mtu wa customer care. Yeah, because they receive these phone calls from left, right, and center, and they try and help to the best of their ability and knowledge. A coach might also present as an evaluator, judging the quality or the importance, the relevance, the value of the work that you do as a fellow. So this would mean, for instance, as Koima has correctly stated, that you will be required to implement a capstone project. So this project, before you go pitching for funds, before you go pitching to other potential donors externally, you will conduct a pitching internally, which will be supervised by the coaches. So we will also come in with that aspect of evaluation. And then most importantly, the coaches also present as mentors. And we offer knowledge, expertise, advice, share our support. And most importantly, I must finish with this if you allow me, Madam Synthia, that the coach is not a monopoly or a source of knowledge, right? Because we are also human beings who are learning from our own experiences. So sometimes the mentorship is multifaceted. You might find an instance where the fellow is inspiring the discussion or the deliberation about a particular issue. So in that case, even you as the fellow, you have a lot to offer. It's not like the coach is this wonderful jar that is going to fill your cup, but then it is a space where we can all co-create. And if you go back to my definition, I said, we are all equal partners in an equal partnership. Thank you.
Wow, amazing insights. I think I am learning as well in this webinar today, and it's amazing how the coaches have put it out there, that this is a cup, and in the cup, there is a drink, but it's not full. So the impact and everything that you're bringing over to TFK, they only add on top of everything that you have. That is very, very amazing. You are putting it out there that the fellows are actually the people that you not actually just look forward to like helping the fellows. You actually help them, you mentor them for them to be able to take their roles perfectly, and that's an amazing job. Hats off for you people. Can we have some reactions on the chat box just to give these beautiful people flowers for the good work that they're doing, supporting the fellows, being there with them at the ground? It's an amazing, amazing, amazing job. And I'll move over to my next question. You talked about mental health and the mental space. I know teaching is not a job that everybody wants to do or everybody looks forward to doing, but what makes it different as a coach at TFK? How do you take care of the fellows' mental health? Over to you, Bedel.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if I go to right, and maybe you would want to quote you in context, you'll allow me to refer to the, I think, book of Ephesians, chapter 4, thereabout. Forgive my Sunday school teacher, is long deceased. So it is mentioned that teachers will be judged harshly. Somewhere in the good books, it's written, right? And this sometimes in itself would want or would force a teacher to try and present with a savior mentality. With this, what do I mean? I mean that you'd want to come and maybe in one term, you'd want to solve all the problems that all your learners would have in their community. Although this is a very noble line of thought, but the truth of the matter is that it is far-fetched. And with that, I mean, you will fail. Failing is guaranteed. And it will only matter how you are going to interact with the failure. If you treat it as an opportunity for learning, then I think you are going to score wonderfully. But then back to the main point, whereby we are asked, how is it being a coach at Teach for Kenya? And then how might this differ in practice with everywhere else? I think at Teach for Kenya, a lot of our interventions circumvent around well-being. And it is well-being at the basic level, the fellows level, the fellows' well-being. So the coaches are the most open human beings you'll get on earth. And it's not like I'm bragging. Koima would also want to put a voice to that. So when we wear the heart of the therapist, we are very open. And most often than not, we will be probing just to find out where you are. How are you? How are you doing? How can I support you better? That in itself does not mean I have all the solutions. There are some other instances where my capacity as a coach has been overridden. And so I must look externally. And that is when we look in our psychologist. So we always have a psychologist on call and who is always ready and willing to support the fellows and even the staff to a greater extent. But we also have a very flexible working week. I think Synthia would be maybe speaking to this at some point, that the 5-day work week, I think we are front runners in this country on people who work 5 days a week. So if you choose to work on a Saturday, it's at your discretion as a fellow with the permission of the institution, of course. But then it's very flexible. You are entitled to some time off, work days, compassionate leave, and any other benefit that this position might bring along. Also, we have what we call coach fellow hangout, right? And this is just where your coach gets to come to your level. You know, sometimes us meeting on such a platform like this, and growing from an African family like myself, a traditional African family, sometimes you are not really encouraged to express yourself expressively, so that you are very assertive and very demanding. But then with your coach, you are now unleashed. You can be you, because this is just your coach, someone you see on a day-to-day basis. They know you, because we have a diverse personality. Just to mention, a coach will support up to 20, between 15 and 20 fellows. So, you know, you cannot have 15 similar individuals. They are all different. And sometimes it requires a lot of exercising emotional intelligence, which is a core aspect of the Teach for Kenya Leadership Institute. Everyone you are seeing in this call today, having worked for Teach for Kenya, has undergone extensive emotional intelligence training. So that is also another plus that the coach is presenting with as they try to support you on your day-to-day endeavors. But because I'm not a monopoly of knowledge, Madam Synthia, I think we'd also want to hear the insights from Madam Koima.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Bedel. That was so detailed to the core. But I would like to get Koima's insight in this. Koima, being that we're in the month of May and we're taking care of our mental health and wellness, how does Teach for Kenya work in terms of taking care of the fellows' wellness, and how is you as a coach empowered to do that?
Thank you. I think I just saw a question popping up on the same, and someone was asking about what mental challenges they expect. So teaching is it's a very heavy job. I like to say that it is a calling. And so especially with the communities that we work with, there are bound to be challenges. For example, burnout is a common challenge because you're handling a large number of students, you're handling a lot of work. And so this is why one of the things that we are looking for as we are looking to recruit fellows, we need to know how resilient you are, because some of the things that you might experience on the ground might really challenge your mental health. We are working with specific underserved communities, from Mathare to Kibra to Mukuru kwa Njenga and Mukuru kwa Ruben. And such communities have, there are some challenges that are very specific to these communities. So you might find yourself with learners who are experiencing gender-based violence, for example, and other systemic issues that affect education. So you as a teacher, you will find yourself in the midst of this. And even as you're trying to help your learners, of course, there are channels that you will find out once you get to your schools, like the reporting channels for some of these issues. But I'm very happy to say that at Teach for Kenya, we actually have an in-house therapist who is available to all the fellows. So just in case you feel like you are experiencing a lot of issues and mental challenges, you'll have someone who you'll be able to talk to. Of course, for us as coaches, we have received our training, but a therapist will really get to the bottom of the challenges that you're going through. So that is something I really, really applaud the organization for having. And some of the challenges that you're experiencing, you might not even know until you get to, the schools that you will be placed. Yeah.
Amazing. So you've had it out there from the coach's mouths that we do have a therapist. And on top of that, they have been trained to be able to take care of you and to know that you need to be okay for you to work in the classrooms because you're delivering to kids, which is our future generation. And your wellness is our priority. Over to the next question that is actually very interesting because I know everyone here is asking, what's the day-to-day life of a leadership development coach at TFK? How does it look like? Just give us an overview of how you wake up in the morning, what you have to do. Over to you, Koima.
So our day-to-day, I wouldn't say like a particular time frame, but basically what I would say, as part of our roles, one of the things that we do is do school visits. Of course, we must be able to see each of our fellows every week, sometimes twice a week, depending on their need. But our work mainly involves school visits where we're supposed to do lesson observations, and we also do one-on-one coaching sessions or sometimes group sessions. So I think maybe to put it in context, we will have a school with several fellows, maybe 2 to 4 fellows, and they may be in different grades. So if I'm coming to your school today, I might have, I might have a few minutes with one person, a few minutes with the next person, but basically we are just there to check on you and to support you. Another thing I would say, what I do on a daily basis is just stakeholder management. So I have to make sure that I check in with your head of institution or your center manager if you're in the ECD section. I think one of the most important things we do as an organization is just try to have strong relationship with school heads and even the community members. So if you are having a PTA meeting, for example, or a parents meeting, I will be there just to be able to understand what are some of these things that our fellows are doing on the ground. Are you actually making an impact? Are you a teacher that stands out? Is there something that you're contributing? And we really like seeing our fellows just being at the forefront, conducting some of these meetings or chairing or even writing minutes. And then we also help in supporting data collection, because as part of our just monitoring and evaluation, we require data like student performance data. We also have data on surveys about our teaching methods. I think as you'll come to interact with the program and as you do your research more, you'll find out that there are specific ways, there are specific strategies that we require our fellows to implement when they're in their classrooms, and things that just make us stand out. So we care, of course, we care about the academic performance of our learners, but also we care about social emotional learning. So we have specific things that we need to see from our fellows. So even as we are supporting them, we're just ensuring that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Some of the challenges that they're experiencing, we try to find ways to mitigate them. Our priority, just at the top of the priority, is just to make sure that we have a good relationship with our heads of institutions. We make sure that our fellows have settled in, they have been allocated classes, and they're doing well in their classes. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Koima, for that. That is day to day, very, very easy. I like that because it's actually up the leadership part of everything, that you're actually a leader and you're leading others towards success. Over to you, Bedel. Tell us, what does your day-to-day look like in the life of being a leadership development coach at Teach for Kenya?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think for us to look at this, the day-to-day life of our coach, we would want to understand, number one, that our role is not an on-site role alone. It's a hybrid role. With that, I mean, structurally, we work 2 days virtually and 3 days on-site. So what do? We are both administrators, in as much as we are both trainers, therapists, and all the other hats that I've mentioned. So Koima has just given you a breakdown of what we do day to day. And just allow me to add on to that basically, a coach would be the one conducting the assessment of the fellow. And when I mean assessment, it's a very broad term, both summative and formative, right? So The key competencies that a coach would be looking for would be both the technical or functional competencies in a fellow. With this, I would mean, how do the fellow position themselves and the work that TFK do? What are you doing on the social spaces to try and document the stories, the success stories, talk about the interventions that we're trying to practice? Because the world is not a closed space. We are not operating in silos. And so as a coach, I would really want to hold my fellows to account to see that they try and document. And I'm sure most of the people in this call here today, the over 300, are here because they saw the work that TFK does. And now question would be, who did the work? The fellow. The fellow did it, and the fellow tried to speak about it or escalate it through their coach. So that would be one. The other one, Koima has correctly mentioned about stakeholder management and interactions. I won't repeat that. And we also have another one, information management and reporting. And this is where now the coach as the manager comes in, right? Really, when you are handling information, how do you respond to your surveys? Yeah, the timelines. Are you meeting the deadlines? We also do that a lot, day-to-day basis. And my favorite part, which I think I really like, is the check-in with the fellows. Our job involves a lot of back and forth communication. My better half sometimes jokes about me being mtu wa customer care. Yeah, because a lot of phone calls come in and you are at any moment in time addressing an issue. You can go to physically to a particular school. That school has no issue, but there's another issue in another school. You don't say no to that phone call because you are not supposed to visit that school on that day. So a lot of check-ins really happens when we wake up. I think for me, that is basically what I start with. Where I want to visit, I would want to make a phone call. I would want to know and catch up. So the check-in is also there. And hugely, because my role hugely depends on the role of the fellow, the teaching and the leadership development aspect. This is a whole key review area, and it carries, I think, up to 40% of the points of the performance of the particular fellow. So the coach will always be there to try and walk the journey with you, hold you accountable, because I also think we are accountability partners. I will hold you accountable for the goal that you set. So when the term begins, we always conduct the goal setting sessions the first 2 weeks of the term, like now they're currently underway. And we want to know, what is your vision for your learners in the next 2 months or in the next 3 months, one term, right? What are your long-term visions? And what are some of the activities that you'll be doing? So the coach would also come in greatly as your accountability partner, just to remind you of the deadlines, but also hold you accountable where you're falling short. Thank you.
That is amazing. Truly, I would say that the numerous hats that the coaches are wearing is brilliant. So on the chat box, I would like you to ask a question to our coaches today. What is it that you'd like to know from them? And before that, would you please give a round of applause to our two amazing coaches? And you can also tell us in the chat box how the session is going on and how do you feel so far from everything that you've had from the coaches and everything that they've told us today. How do you feel? Are you ready to be part of the fellowship? Once selected to join the fellowship? What insights are you bringing? What are you currently thinking as an innovative idea that you'd like to create out there? I can see lots of love hearts and lots of thumbs up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all that. If you have any questions to our panelists today, please feel free to ask the questions. Please feel free to put it on the chat box, and I will be able to read the question, and they will be able to revert to the question and give you the answer. It's good to hear information from the horse's mouth, correct? Yeah, so thank you. I will just read some of the insights that you're putting forward. The session is so impressive and inspiring, amazing. I'm enjoying and learning a lot in the session. Brilliant. We do have a question from Rachel Washira. The question is, what common mistakes, I think that's addressed to the recruitment team. I would like us to ask a question to the leadership development coaches. If you have any question, Okay.
Cynthia, actually, we have some burning questions in the chat box. And the one that I've seen that is really standing out is some of us are asking what we mean by this being the last session. So as we started the session, I mentioned that this is the 4th series that we are having of the webinars. We've been having webinars since the last 2 weeks, and this is the final one. That doesn't mean that for those also who are asking if this is part of the application process, please know that this is just for your knowledge and to inform you on what you're signing up for and what Teach for Kenya entails. So if you miss the other sessions, that doesn't mean that you are disqualified for any reason, because we shared more or less the same information, but advanced depending on the need that we saw from the feedback that was shared from the previous sessions. And then another one that I've seen is someone was asking about the placement issues. So someone was asking, they haven't seen us in Kisii. And as we started also, I mentioned that we are currently 6 years in operation. And what that means is we are still expanding. For now, we have a capacity of being in 3 regions, expanding to the 4th region, but we hope with more funds and more donors, we are going to expand to all other counties in the country, because our goal is to ensure that one day everyone has access to quality education. Someone else is also asking on the feedback for the applications. So we review the applications on a rolling basis. And what that means is we release feedback on after reviewing the applications. I believe majority of us, if not all of us, have already received feedback for the first stage. And as we receive more applications, we also release the feedback on those who qualified. For the qualifications, if I didn't mention when we were starting the session, the qualification, I think, has already been shared in the chat box, but for you to qualify, the general qualification for you to qualify for the fellowship is you must be between the age of 18 to 35 years, be a Kenyan citizen or have the right to reside in Kenya, and also have a degree. It doesn't have to be an education degree. It's just a degree regardless of what academic field, so long as it's something that is from an accredited institution. Another question is how we scout schools for fellows. That one I'd like to throw it to one of our coaches. Bedel, if you're in a position to answer that, please share with our audience how you're able to scout the schools that fellows are being placed.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just a disclaimer, I might not provide the perfect answer here, but I'll try to be as objective as possible and to be as realistic as possible, so that when you come to the ground, you can hold me accountable to what I said in this particular call. So number one, we are currently actively working with the county education officers. With that, I would mean the Ministry of Education representatives in the counties, so that we have a harmonized selection criterion or criteria, for that matter, that would inform our entry in the schools. Now, that you should also get your mind ringing. Why are we doing that here and now? It is because we have also learned, and we are a learning organization. One of our core values is continuous learning. So we seriously take into account the feedback that we get from our implementing partners and everyone else, participants, for that matter. So initially, scouting for the schools has been at the discretion of the Council of Coaches at the regional level. So what would that mean? We are 3 coaches in Machakos. We are operating in 3 different areas, or 2 different sub-counties for that matter. We might be privy to the facts and figures about statistics about the need. So with the need, I would mean the pupil-teacher ratio in a particular school. Yeah, I would mean also the literacy and the numeracy levels in a particular region. So those would be our guiding points. Referring to those data points, we would narrow down to 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 schools, which you would think would be a perfect fit. As a coach, you would now take it upon yourself to visit the potential partners, the potential schools that we can scale our program to, and then have a discussion with the head of institutions. Once this information is secured, it is scaled to the HOT level, the head of training. So the head of training would have a session with the coach to gather and harmonize the feedback. And then a decision would be made on whether or not we can scale to school A or over school B. So it's a whole process. But then remember, I've just mentioned when I was beginning that we are currently working closely with the ministry education representatives, the county director of education, to try and work on a particular toolkit that guides our practices and policies in those particular countries, so that I know whoever is asking this question is asking it from the point that maybe from practice and maybe what they've seen, people would choose convenience over what is necessary. So if you allow to put it, mtu atachagua shule iko karibu na lami instead ya kuingia huko ndani vichakani mahali kuna the need, right? So yes, we are always onboarding our partners so that we work on a way that favors both sides. But hugely, that is a very consultative approach that we are undertaking.
Thank you, Bedel. I think that's something that is very detailed, and I hope the person who asked that question has been well answered. There's another question from someone who was asking, I think it was Rachel, who was asking the top qualities of a good fellow or successful candidate. I'll mention that from a point of an applicant. So for you to be qualified for the first stage, I've already mentioned that on age, citizenship, and degree. But generally, for you to be a very qualified and competent candidate, you need to have the passion to serve. That is number one key, having that you are working with communities in the that are being underserved. The second one is having some leadership experiences, at least just show that you have the leadership capacity. And understand some of us are still in school, some of us have already graduated or recently graduated, and what that means is you don't have career experience that you're going to showcase as your experience. Just stand out, and please remember that this is something that is very competent. Currently, as we speak, we have an audience of 300. Now imagine this invitation was shared to how many people who showed interest to join the Teach for Kenya Fellowship. So another one is, as you're doing your application, please make sure that it is as authentic as possible, and also consider the time frame that has been shared. The time frame that we have for the application stage of the eligibility is going to end soon in like 2 weeks. And then for the essay, we'll be closing end of May. So please consider the time frames that we have. More information will be shared in your email because we have your personal details. Another one was, I'd like to throw this to Koima. Koima, there's a question that has been asked by Charity, and she wanted to understand what you mean by being a teacher leader in a school. So from understanding, what do you understand by being a teacher leader?
All right, thank you for that question. So as you have heard, or you might have seen through the applications, Teach for Kenya does not only recruit people who have an education background. So we understand that some of the challenges in education, it's not only teachers who can be able to solve them. That's why we recruit from diverse educational backgrounds. So our program is a leadership development program. That means that we not only, of course, we are preparing you to work in a school as a teacher, but at the same time, you are there to develop the leadership qualities for your learners, but at the same time, you're also developing. So part of the things that we do, apart from the training, that is, I think RSM will cover this. If you have been selected, you will undergo a 6-week training called the Leadership Institute, where there's specific things that you need to learn before you get to the classroom. For those who do not have an education background, you'll be able to learn about pedagogy. As Bedel mentioned, emotional intelligence is very important. You will learn about finances. You will learn about so many different things that just develop you holistically. So we are not just developing you professionally as a teacher, but we're also trying to make sure that when you get to the classroom, are you able to build your students as leaders? Are you able to build student agency? I know we keep saying that these learners, these young people are the leaders of tomorrow, but we like to say that they're leaders of today. And some of the things that we do, I think some of the things that we are learning as fellows if you become a fellow, every month you'll be undergoing a certain kind of training. And we're not just training you just for your personal sake, but we want the training that you have to cascade down to your learners. So it's not only it's not really just a job, it's a leadership development program, and you get to learn a lot about yourself, you get to be developed, we undergo a lot of processes of learning. One of our key things that we focus on is continuous learning. So you won't just you won't just get into the program and then that's it. The 2 years you will be learning something new every month, and every time we have a training we will be informing you. Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's what it means to be called a teacher leader.
Thank you, Koima, and I think that is well explained. And I'd like to connect it with another question, which I'll help you to answer. There's someone else who had asked on if we're doing charity work to communities, having that we are based on communities which are underserved. To that person, I'd like to mention that doing charity work, I think it's on a voluntary basis, and it's something that you can take as a personal initiative. For us, what we do is once we place you in schools, your focus needs to be solving the problems that are affecting that school. But anything off the school, you initiate it with the parents, with the teachers, and the learners in that school that you're being placed. Another question to Bedel is a question that was asked on, just like TSC has assurance parameters like TPAD, what parameters do we have as Teach for Kenya? Bedel, to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And with assurances, I would believe they are quality assurances. Is that correct?
That's right.
Very nice. So number one, I would want to reassure the person asking that Teach for Kenya does not work in silos. We directly collaborate with the county director of education office and to some degree the TSC. And with that, I mean, a lot of our interventions, like recently, we just concluded a joint monitoring and evaluation exercise with the Ministry of Education. So our processes are regulated in themselves, right? Number two, we have internal systems and tools, which I would really beg not to share here now, looking at the numbers, because that is internal, as the name suggests, internal. So all our activities are regulated, both externally by the Ministry of Education. And with that, I would mean we have a memorandum of understanding, and we work closely with the county projects coordinators to implement our capstone projects. And we also have a very close working relationship with the curriculum. Is it the curriculum assessment officers or something from the ministry? But they are the people who help us to look at the quality of what we do vis-a-vis what is expected of the profession. One thing that I think should be clear here and now is that us as an organization, we are not a teacher staffing entity. So we might not really operate the same and the exact way as TSC, but that should not also mean that we are in conflict. We are aligned. They know our scope. We report to them. We share learnings with them. They advise us. And so we have that memorandum of understanding going forward. So yes, internally we are regulated, and the head of training is like the point of authority to try and streamline processes of all the coaches. The M&D supports with the data points so that whatever your coach is doing is not something thought of from Pluto or Mars. It is something very, very practical on Earth, and it is backed by data. It is supervised and regulated so that we don't also have instances whereby you are infringed, right? So our processes are both regulated internally using the internal processes and externally by the Ministry of Education, who are one of our core partners.
All right. Thank you, Bedel, for that answer, and it's well explained. Simply don't know if I've missed out any question. There's another question, two questions that I saw. They're being repeated in the chat box. The first one is on the payment. So if you happen to get a positive feedback at the very last stage of the application stage, you'll be paid a stipend of 30,000, which is subject to deductions. And then on placement question, most of us are asking about the school that you're being placed. Number one, if you check the eligibility form, that is the very first form that you filled out with your personal details. You're required to choose a region that you want to be placed. And if you pick a region either in Nairobi, Kisumu, and Machakos, that is the region that you're going to operate for the next 2 years. For the school that you're going to be placed, you will know the school that you're being placed once you sign the offer letter come next year. And then after that, the school that you're placed, you operate within that school for the 2 years again. I hope that is clear. Cynthia, is there any question that I missed out?
Yes, there's a question here, but I would like the leadership development coaches to answer this question. Someone was asking, how does one measure, you as a coach, how do you measure the impact of the fellow? Over to you, Bedel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think this question would beg for the response of what are we measuring and when? And with this, I would want to believe that at specific points in time, the coach will be coming in to measure the quality of what you are doing. Now, let's begin. On a day-to-day basis, or once in a month, the coach would be coming to conduct a classroom observation. That is guided. The toolkit is there. We are using Kobo for that to collect some specific data points that we are seeing in the classroom. Just to take you through, we are a very strong believer on the teaching as collective leadership model. And that would mean you are not only a teacher in that class. We need to see an aspect of connectedness and acceptance. And the wise scholars remind us that we only learn from people we like. If I don't like you as a teacher in the first place, you would call Jesus Christ to your classroom, but then I would still opt or not learn anything. So first of all, you must create that environment. That is assessed from our tool, the classroom arrangement, the language, the classroom culture. You know, it's a whole lot of indicators that we look at. So that is the first point of assessment. The second point of assessment would be in the capstone project. And when we talk about the capstone project, this is a requirement that before you leave the fellowship program in your second year, end of second year, you need to have implemented this. And I think just a rejoinder to a question that was asked on what is the ideal fellow or who is a fellow that fits in. Number one, you must be committed for the 2 years and demonstrate buy-in in the vision of Teach for Kenya. We don't want to end up with a scenario where you've joined us and then in year one you have left. That is not an ideal fellow. That is a Kenyan hustler, a Kenyan broker looking for opportunities to just jump off. So back to my point, when assessing the quality of the capstone project, which you need to implement within your 2 years, we have something called the innovation matrix, the database innovation matrix, where we look at the level of innovation of your project. We have parameters and the data points, indicators, to assess whether or not, is it low innovation, moderate innovation, high innovation? What are your data points? We are an organization that believes in the interventions we are implementing should be from a point of view that they are informed by data. So you don't just wake up to implement a project. Nothing has never been done. There's nothing new you are going to do today. But how different, how unique is your idea to what has already been done? I think that is a very high area that we also look at. And this goes on a long way. So it's a continuous discussion that you will be having with your coach, depending on what you are analyzing or measuring, for that matter, vis-a-vis what is expected. So it's something that changes depending on what are we measuring or what are we looking at this point.
Amazing insights. Thank you so much, Bedel, for that. And you did mention something to do with the capstone project. And I'll throw this over to Koima. Koima, would you tell us how important is a capstone project to a fellow and a coach?
Okay. I likewise saw a question about that. So As a fellow, one of your roles one of your job descriptions is to implement a project at least 6 months in the school or community that you're placed in. So a capstone project is basically a project that you identify a need or a gap that you identify in your area in your school of placement, and we have specific thematic areas that most of our fellows are interested in. So we have areas like climate education, we have areas like numeracy and literacy. We have areas like digital literacy specifically because it's a core competence in this curriculum. So basically, a fellow will, by the time they get to the school, they have to identify a project, which usually happens towards the end of the first year. And then during the second year, they get to implement that project. And it's usually a very interesting and competitive project because, of course, a lot of people might be doing the same things. And that's why Bedel insisted on how innovative is your project. You're not just coming up with your project just because you want to graduate from the fellowship. You're actually looking at a way to support and impact your community. And capstone projects are really important to us because they even show your motivation for joining this fellowship. So at some point, maybe towards the end of the Leadership Institute, you might be able to do a mock project just to see what are some of the things that you envision solving when you get to the schools. And so this is a requirement for every fellow. And I think during the Leadership Institute, it will be elaborated further. But yes, one of our roles is supporting our fellows in that. And it's usually a very interesting thing. So we even have an opportunity to pitch our project in front of investors. And there are some people who have even gotten seed funding. So it's a really, really important way to even know how to scale your project outside the fellowship. You might not do everything during the 2-year fellowship, but you might be able to do it afterwards. Yeah.
Amazing. Brilliant information there. You are the change the world needs. So if you go to the schools where you're placed as fellows and you said there's a library in the school, it is you to bring the change because as we've had from the horse's mouth, innovation is one of the things we are big on. So if you're able to come up with an idea or a project that is going to help these learners to have quality education, we are looking for you. So over to my panelists. I have a question that is very interesting, and I would like to know, what would you like to tell the people listening to us today, the people that have tuned in to get to know what TFK does? How far do we go? What would be that one advice as a coach that you tell our aspiring fellows? Over to you, Koima. Koima, we can't hear you. You're muted.
So sorry. I just wanted to say, I would say that if you're thinking of applying, don't think of applying to Teach for Kenya just as a job. This is it's a very important and necessary work that we are doing. And I would advise you to apply only when you are ready to show a commitment for 2 years, because these communities are, we are meeting a need when we send our fellows there. So if you're able to show a commitment for 2 years to serve these learners in these served communities, I would also advise you to please research the organization. We really would like people who are aligned to what our vision, our values, and our mission is about. And that's why some of the things that we are actually picking from your essays, are you demonstrating some values? So if our values are not aligned, then you might not be the right fit for this organization. I think it's also important to just know, like, the reason that we exist. And like, on a personal note, as a coach, I really want to know what my fellows motivations are, yeah, when challenges come. And I know we will talk about some of these challenges a bit later on. When challenges come on the ground, how do you show your resilience? Yeah, these are some of the things we're looking at. We're looking at how you are when challenges come. How are you able to mitigate these challenges? How do you show up for your learners? And I also wanted maybe just to finishing, stay open to learning. You might be surprised by the learning opportunities that you might get in the communities. I know I mentioned a few of them, and you might have some perceptions about such communities, but you will be surprised about some of the things that they will teach you. And it's really tough, to be honest. Some of these experiences might be tough, but I can assure you that the 2 years, it will be worth it, because you will grow in 2 years than you've ever grown before. And I'm speaking this as someone who's gone through the 2-year fellowship. It really stretches you, and it's a good opportunity to just grow as an individual and also professionally.
A round of applause for Koima. She has given you all the details. She has told you what we are actually looking for. So if you've had Koima very keenly, you know that you're here and you want to be part of the Teach for Kenya, please apply, apply, apply. Send it to friends who have like-minded, who think the same as you think, who actually have the passion to actually serve in the communities. Over to you, Bedel. Tell us, what is that heavy advice that you'd like people to go and be energetic to say, I am applying for Teach for Kenya? Over to you, Bedel.
I think I never got the last part of the question. Is it still in this line with what Koima was responding to? Or
yes, just give, yes.
All right. Yeah, so if you are seriously considering to apply for the fellowship, number one, you seriously need to conduct what we call self-assessment. We always say that you can lie to everyone and anyone, but the moment you look in the mirror and see the other person, the other guy, if you are lying to him or her, you are lying to yourself. So do serious soul searching, do serious self-assessment. And why is this important? Assess, what is your commitment over the 2 years? What is your passion? Maybe your passion is not in education, Are you resilient to thrive in Wajir? Are you resilient to thrive in Machakos, Kisumu, Nairobi? Then career aspirations, that would go with commitment. Maybe in the long term, you want to become a bank, right? And you might not really find the 2 years helpful for you. There is no harm in saying no here and now. So if you really feel that you've conducted a self-assessment and you've seen that this might not be a perfect fit for you, the earlier you make the decision, the better for you. Because as Koima said, this will be a very demanding position, number one. The core of it, which I think would be the second advice, would be the nexus of why we do what we do heavily revolves around giving back to the society. So you will give back your time. You'll give back your resources. If that is not something you think you can sign up for, then I think you seriously need to reconsider your options. Yeah, because in light, and allow me just to put this out in black and white, that you'll be required to attend a mandatory 6 weeks institute with a serious high-end and high-level learning to also accompany it. So it is not something that you would want to wish away once you've started. It is something that once you've made up your mind, you have the drive, then I am waiting to see you at the finishing line, because it's something that can be done. And I'm here by talking today as someone who has lived the same process, underwent the same process. And I assure you, if I did it, then you can equally do it or even surpass what some of us managed to do while we were at the fellowship. So you should not be scared. This is something doable. It is something that Kenyan people have done. Hakuna Chinese amewahi kuwa kwa fellowship ndio useme, TFK is selling for us this. It is something doable. And you can trace what we have done. Look at our activities in Mathare, Mukuru, Kibera, Manyata slums in Kisumu, Nyalenda, everywhere else, Isili, in Machakos as well, This is something that can be done. So you don't have a reason of not to apply. Apply. And the good thing is you are always having the support of the coaches who are on call, they're available physically, and they will support you to walk through this journey. So no worries. Don't have second thoughts. Apply.
Brilliant information from Bedel. Bedel is urging everyone to apply. And in the chat box, I would like us to do a small interaction. I would like you to tell me, what are the 2 things you're taking home today? What are the 2 important things you're taking home today from whatever you've learned from the panelists, whatever they have said today? What are 2 things you're taking with you home? We will be reading the chat box just to get some of the responses. Sorry about that. Responses from you people that are amazing. We have Nicholas Odhiambo, giving back to the community. Amazing. Yes, giving back to the community. We are big on that. So we have commitment. Amazing, Nicholas. Thank you so much for that feedback. We have God, commitment, Kristen, importance, Jacqueline, passion, Synthia, passion to serve. Amazing. Keep them coming, guys. We have dedication, commitment, resilience, serve. Others have done it. We can too. Amazing. That's true. Commitment, dealing with mental health. Amazing. Somebody is saying, I have learned to be sober and full deliver the content to the context of my experience, not my papers. Amazing insight. Okay, we have community engagement and development. Ian is saying, apply. Yes, Ian, apply, send it to friends, send it to family. Let the people that have like-minded thinking to actually apply. Yes, serving and learning. We have education. Innovativeness is key. Brilliant. Self-assessment, very important. Servant leadership. Joining the fellowship will make me grow than ever before. Resilience, amazing. Passion, yes, passion should guide you. It's not about the size of the tree, but the quality of fruits. Very good insight, Brendan. We have Brian saying takeaways, coaches are first point of contact. 2, giving back to the community. Amazing. Passion to serve and dedication. Somebody has learned about the roles of a coach. Good. Love and willingness to give back to the community. Devotion, open-mindedness. I'm taking home the fact that we are joining the team that will ensure education equality and assured future for our student. Surely something can be done. Amazing insight, Kevin. We have passion for children, impact, being a leader to inspire others, giving back to the community, amazing, being a teacher leader, not just a teacher, very, very insightful, massive impact to the learner, meant to work, have known who is a coach and a TFK, and a leader and a teacher leader, and how to impact my skills to learners. Amazing. I know that I wouldn't be alone, and the leadership coach will be there to guide me. Very true. And just to remember, coaches will pour to a cup that is half full. So what are you bringing to the table? It's good that I am reading from the chat box that you already got what you're bringing to the table, and that is amazing. So we are sharing a form on the chat box that you are supposed to give a feedback of how this session was today. What did you get to learn? Is there something you'd like us to improve on? Share that on the form that is being shared on the chat box. We have transformation of community through education. Amazing. We have dedication, passion for short-term and long-term goals, innovativeness. Amazing. A question to myself: am I resilient enough to thrive in my place of choice? What can I give to the community? That's a very good question, Oyo. Everything is possible. Emotional intelligence, adaptability, flexibility, coupled up with passion makes Teach for Kenya and an answered prayer for the underserved areas. Thank you so much for that. Innovation matrix. Teamwork is the key. Yes. Together we can go far. passion, innovation. Giving back to the community is not just necessarily about money. Time is also a way of giving back. That's very true. Your 2-year commitment is you giving your time to serve the community. That's very true. Mental health is key, yes, and we are in the month of May, and as TFK, we do value your mental health. Emotional intelligence, amazing. So I can be reading this insights that you're sharing over and over again, but we have actually gotten what we really need to have as aspiring fellows to join the fellowship, and what is needed of you in order for you to become that perfect fellow that we term, this is a fellow that has gone through the system, and these are the impacts that we have seen from this fellow. So this has been a very amazing session, and I would like us to shower our panelists today with flowers. So get ready, guys, get ready. Be ready with your flowers. I'm going to be mentioning names and you'll be showering them with flowers. So let's give our flowers to Bedel. Thank you for the flowers, guys. Thank you so much for the flowers. And now prepare another flower bouquet, and let's shower our flowers to Koima. Thank you so much, guys. You have been a very amazing audience. And I hope that you're going home having learned something, and you're going home a well-prepared person to come up as a very good fellow. And you're also getting ready to actually be the change that the world needs. I have been your moderator, Synthia Ouma from the recruitment selection team. Thank you so much. I'll give the mic over to Charity. Asanteni sana, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for the interactive session that you have had with our panelists. As we conclude, I'd like to go straight to the application process. This will help us answer some of the questions that we've been having in the chat box on what next and how to expect feedback. So in case you're here and you haven't applied for the fellowship, the very first stage is to visit our website on that link that has been shared there on www.teachforkenya.org and fill the eligibility form. That form is also on our current social media posts that have already been put up. Please note that you need to apply just once. So long as you fill in the correct details, make sure you fill it just once. Otherwise, we might end up having some confusion here and there. But in case you've already applied, especially those who applied the very beginning of the launching of the application, I believe most of us have already received the feedback. If you're here to receive your feedback, as I said, we're reviewing the applications on a rolling basis. So please be patient with us. We'll give you feedback on your performance. After the eligibility criteria, the second one is writing a written application. In case you meet all our criteria that I mentioned, that is the age 18 to 35, this being a leadership program, we expect you to at least be a youth for you to at least have full-time engagement with us. Not that this is a full-time engagement for 2 years. So we expect you to have graduated by the time you're joining us and you have your degree by then, before we place you to schools. And then we also need you to be a citizen of Kenya. For the essays, we have, of course, our own standards that you are following to review the essays, but make sure that your essay is as authentic as possible and it is well written. Consider your grammar, consider anything that might be needed for you to be shortlisted for the next stage. After that, we'll invite you for a virtual physical interview session within the region that you selected during the application to do your fellowship. And it's going to be either half day or full day, depending on the number of interviews that you'll be having that day. And we'll give you prior communication for your planning to show up for your interview. And then after that, you'll go through an onboarding process, which we always call it the matriculation stage, whereby we give you an understanding of what you have signed up for, if this is actually going to work for you, having practical experiences of how the 2 years is going to look like. And then at the end of the year, we are going to give you your offer and then contract. This leads to a question that most of us are asking on leave, terms of engagement. We always have a contract that you need to sign before we place you in schools. And this contract entails how your engagement with Teach for Kenya is going to look like. how your engagement with the schools and the learners is going to look like. So all the best as you wait for your feedback. And in case you missed the previous sessions, these sessions are always recorded, as you can see, and visit our social media platform, that is the Facebook page or our YouTube channel, for you to watch a recording of the past sessions that we've been having. In the chat box, we have a feedback form that has been shared. Please share with us how this session has been. And in case you haven't applied, also the application form is going to be shared in the chat box. You can apply. For the essay stage, in case you're asking on the link on where to send the essay application, note that that is a very personalized process. Comparing it with the eligibility, which is open to everyone, the second stage is a very personalized stage, which the link that you have, in case you have a positive feedback, you can't forward it to someone else to apply on your behalf or for them to submit the application. One must start with the eligibility before they get to the essay. I hope it is clear for those of us who are also sending emails to us that the application is not working. But in case you have a very serious concern on submitting the essay, just feel free to write to us on the recruitment email that was shared in the chat box. Thank you so much for joining us, and we truly appreciate your time for sticking in for the last 1.5 hours. And as we conclude, I'd like us to share your feedback, number one, and then be optimistic about the process. Remember everything that has been shared with our coaches. Visit our social media platforms and website to understand what we actually do, in case Teach for Kenya is something new to your ears, and it will guide you on what exactly you're joining into. Well, thank you so much, and we are going to end the session now. Have a good afternoon.
Bye, guys.